On the 9th of March 2018, in the Japanese city of Ibaraki, a woman filed a report with the police. "My husband left home and hasn't returned. He even left his mobile phone behind. We had a big fight a few days ago." The missing man was 33-year-old Noboru Uji. He had been married for several years, and the couple had 3 children. At the time, the police assumed that, as an adult man, he had simply chosen to leave home after a family argument. They categorized it as a voluntary disappearance. However, his wife insisted, "But he hasn't even gone to work." Despite her concerns, the officers maintained that they should wait, arguing that Noboru was an adult and capable of taking care of himself. 4 months passed. On the 18th of July that same year, police arrived at the house in Kasumigara, Ibaraki, where Noboru Uji had lived before his disappearance. His wife, Miho Uji, opened the door that morning. Could it be that they had finally found her missing husband? The wife appeared bewildered, seemingly unable to grasp what was happening. However, the police wasted no time. "Where is your husband? We know everything." The officer's firm approach left Miho frozen in place. For a brief moment, confusion flickered in her eyes, but then, as if resigning herself to the inevitable, she raised her hand and pointed. "He's inside the house," she said. How was that possible? The man who had been reported missing for 4 months had been in the house the entire time? The police, seemingly prepared for such a revelation, entered the house immediately. The twist lay in the timeline. Miho had filed a missing person report for her husband on the 9th of March. Yet, on the 28th of March, only 20 days after reporting him missing, she submitted divorce paperwork to the local municipal office. What could explain such a hasty decision? Noboru wasn't just a husband. He was the father of their 3 children. The situation clearly called for a thorough investigation. After filing the missing person report, Miho Uji's behavior and statements began raising more and more questions. Initially, she claimed that Noboru had left his mobile phone at home, but later changed her story. "Oh no, I think he actually took it with him. I must have been mistaken." Such confusion over basic details alarmed the police. Her inconsistent testimony, combined with her swift decision to file for divorce, led investigators to keep a close eye on her. Let's return to the search. Following Miho's indication, the police approached what appeared to be a typical Japanese sliding closet. However, upon opening it, they were immediately drawn to a large rectangular concrete block occupying most of the space inside. But it wasn't the size or weight of the block that shocked them. It was the sight of a piece of human skin protruding from the concrete, seemingly from the forehead area. This was a clear sign that a body was entombed inside. The state of the room only confirmed their suspicions. 2 air purifiers running simultaneously, along with numerous deodorants and aromatic oils scattered about. Everything had been arranged to mask the smell of decomposition. Later, forensic analysis revealed that Noboru had not died on the day Miho reported him missing. Instead, his death had occurred approximately a month earlier, in February. 44-year-old Miho Uji was immediately taken into custody at the scene. When questioned by the police about her motives for the murder, she broke down in tears, repeatedly saying, "I didn't mean to kill him. I didn't even know he would die." According to Miho, her husband frequently came home drunk and became extremely aggressive. He would violently punch walls or throw objects, such as a fan. She claimed that his outbursts had left her fearing for her own safety and that of their children. Miho confessed to the police that one night, as she watched her husband sleeping heavily after drinking, she was overcome by an irresistible urge to kill him. Beside the bed lay the cord from a phone charger, and she used it to strangle her sleeping husband. At first glance, her story seemed to offer a semblance of justification. If Noboru had indeed been as aggressive as she claimed, it could have driven her to commit the murder. However, the police decided to verify her claims by interviewing those who knew the couple. A former co-worker of Noboru emerged as a key witness. He revealed that Noboru had once come to work with a head injury. He appeared embarrassed, as though trying to conceal the fact that he had been assaulted. This detail contradicted Miho's narrative. Perhaps she wasn't the victim of abuse, but rather the perpetrator. Still, the true dynamics of the family could only be understood by its members. Even if Miho had been subjected to violence, she had never previously filed a complaint or given any indication of such abuse. On the other hand, those who knew Miho adamantly refused to believe in her guilt. To many, she was a devoted mother to her 3 children, a 12-year-old daughter and 4-year-old twins. People described her as caring, active, and energetic. She often rode her bicycle around the neighborhood, always greeting her neighbors with a warm smile, and was deeply involved in school activities. Her charisma and dedication to her family left a positive impression on everyone she encountered. Miho was a large woman with a loud, low-pitched voice, but this physical trait never made her seem intimidating or aggressive to those around her. Miho, despite being seen by many as a calm and friendly woman, occasionally raised her voice sharply at her children or husband, adopting a commanding tone. However, as noted by neighbors, her behavior never appeared overly aggressive. The most horrifying part of this story involves the children who lived in the house. The eldest daughter, 12 years old, seemed to know more than she was willing to share. It's hard to fathom, but from Noboru's death in mid-February until his body was discovered in July, the 3 children lived in the same house as their father's corpse. This situation was disturbing enough on its own, but the most shocking revelation came later. You may recall that Miho filed for divorce. For such a filing, both spouses' signatures are required. By the time the paperwork was submitted, Noboru was already dead, meaning his signature could not have been genuine. The investigation revealed that the signature in the husband's section of the divorce paperwork belonged to the eldest daughter. At first glance, it might have seemed like she had simply followed her mother's instructions without fully understanding. However, the truth was far more chilling. The eldest daughter told the police that her mother had actively involved her in events surrounding the murder. Miho frequently confided in her, venting her frustrations about Noboru. "Marrying him was a mistake from the start. Your father is a burden. He will destroy all of us. I can't stand the sight of him anymore. I need to get away." Miho also used threats to exert control over her daughter. "Do you want to end up in an orphanage?" These words became part of the manipulation Miho employed to dominate her children, forcing them to comply with her will. "Either help me or you'll end up in an orphanage. Decide for yourself," Miho told her 12-year-old daughter. Terrified of losing her mother or being separated from her family, the girl felt compelled to follow her mother's orders. This help involved becoming an accomplice in the murder of her own father. Miho had planned the crime for a long time. She frequently sent her daughter to check if her father was asleep. At times, she even suggested pushing him down the stairs or hitting him over the head with a bottle. These instructions were horrifying, especially given the girl's young age. In the week leading up to the murder, Miho asked her daughter daily to observe her father's sleeping habits, whether he was sleeping deeply enough for her to strangle him with a charging cable without waking him. The day finally came when Miho decided to carry out her plan. At the moment, she looped the cable around her husband's neck. The daughter was forced to assist in the crime. She held down her father's arms and legs as he struggled, until he stopped breathing. This traumatic experience would undoubtedly haunt her for the rest of her life. But Miho's coldness did not end with the murder. After killing her husband, she began assigning her daughter new tasks related to the disposal of his body. The girl's responsibilities included caring for the corpse, hiding its presence in the house, and assisting her mother with other aspects of the crime. However, their marriage did not last long, ending in just a few years with a divorce. Noboru was Miho's 3rd husband. On the surface, Miho appeared to be a caring mother and homemaker, but her tumultuous past and unstable personal life cast a shadow over her present. After Noboru's murder, Miho continued to force her daughter into the role of an accomplice. The girl not only helped with the murder itself, but also had to manage the aftermath, monitoring the smell of the body, replacing air fresheners, and buying new odor-masking products. During questioning, the girl confessed to the police that she hated the tasks her mother assigned her, but felt powerless to disobey. Her words are profoundly heartbreaking. "I loved my dad. Even though Mom was always angry with him, I always treated him well. But I had to be part of this murder. It was horrible. I didn't want to check the smell of his body, but I was too scared to disobey my mom." When Miho learned of her daughter's statements, she denied everything, claiming that the girl hated her father as well and willingly participated in the murder. This shocking assertion only deepened the disgust and outrage surrounding Miho's behavior. As the police dug deeper, they discovered that Miho had exhibited problematic behavior since her school years. She skipped classes, frequently played truant, fell in with the wrong crowd, and acted aggressively. This darker side of her personality may well have been the root of the tragedies that unfolded in her life. Miho managed to captivate Noboru despite their significant age difference and her questionable past. When they met, she was 31 years old while he was only 20. She deliberately hid the truth about herself. She didn't reveal her real last name, concealed her actual age, and most importantly, withheld the fact that she had 2 children from previous marriages. Miho crafted the image of an ideal girlfriend. She used a fake online profile, introducing herself as a 22-year-old named Tanaka Maiko, complete with an edited, flattering photo. Young and inexperienced, Noboru fell for her deception. According to his friends, he was a kind, trusting person who tended to form attachments quickly. These traits made him an easy target for Miho. Their relationship progressed rapidly. Within a few months of meeting, Miho moved in with him and soon began discussing marriage. Unaware of her true nature, Noboru was blinded by her determination and perhaps by his feelings for her. However, married life quickly became a trial for Noboru. Miho turned out to be hot-tempered, aggressive, and extremely selfish. She demanded expensive purchases, behaved impulsively, and caused frequent scenes. The hardest blow for Noboru came when he discovered the truth. His wife was not only older than she claimed, but had also been married twice before. She had 2 children from her previous relationships and a mountain of debt. These revelations left Noboru deeply shocked. He felt betrayed, but despite everything, he tried to keep the family together. The arguments in the house grew more frequent, yet Noboru continued to fight, believing it was his duty to overcome their difficulties. Miho, on the other hand, showed no interest in preserving their relationship. She became increasingly distant from her husband, focusing solely on her own benefit. Her behavior grew more self-centered and calculated. The culmination of their conflicts came on the day Miho decided to get rid of Noboru. Her past, riddled with deceit, manipulation, and a relentless pursuit of easy money, revealed her true nature, a nature that ultimately led to this horrific crime. The couple dated for about a year before starting their life together in Ibaraki in July 2014. At first, everything seemed to go smoothly, but it wasn't long before Miho began to act. With a serious expression, she told Noboru, "I'm pregnant." Noboru was overjoyed. He felt it was his responsibility to care for the child and build a family. Without hesitation, he filed the paperwork to register his marriage with Miho. However, her pregnancy turned out to be a lie. Based on her past experiences, Miho likely believed that mentioning a pregnancy would compel a man to marry her. She used it as a manipulation tactic. When the truth came out, Noboru was shocked, but he chose to stay with her despite the deceit. Shortly after, Miho truly became pregnant, giving birth to a daughter who became the center of Noboru's happiness. Later, the couple welcomed twin sons, and for a time it seemed their life had finally stabilized. But problems began 3 years before the tragedy. One day, Noboru needed to obtain copies of official documents from the municipal office. While reviewing the papers, he noticed something strange. What? Why doesn't the name match? It turned out that Miho was still using the fake name she had created to meet Noboru online. Do you recall how she introduced herself as Tanaka Maiko? She continued to use that name even after their marriage. All those years, Noboru had called her Maiko-chan, believing it to be her real name. He was devastated. How can you hide your real name from your husband? We're married and we have 3 children. This revelation shattered Noboru's trust in his wife. He felt betrayed and manipulated. Though he tried to keep their family together, his doubts and mistrust of Miho grew stronger with time. Meanwhile, their lives were already far from stable. Financial struggles, ongoing deception, and constant tension weighed heavily on their relationship, setting the stage for the tragic events to come. Noboru worked tirelessly to provide for his family, but Miho's extravagant spending habits were a constant burden. Her obsession with acquiring items that impressed others pushed the family into financial ruin. Noboru's income couldn't keep up with her demands, and it eventually led to bankruptcy. Even after they filed for bankruptcy, Miho continued to take out loans in Noboru's name and secretly withdraw his savings. Her recklessness reached its peak when she embezzled 50 million won from the union fund of Noboru's company. These weren't even their personal savings. They were the hard-earned money of Noboru's colleagues. When Noboru discovered this, he was stunned. "Those aren't my funds. They belong to the company. If you don't return them within 2 days, it's over between us." These words were likely the breaking point for Miho. It was then she made the irrevocable decision to kill her husband. She began plotting the crime, carefully planning every step. After the murder, she immediately withdrew the remaining money from Noboru's bank account and spent it as she pleased. In the weeks leading up to the discovery of the truth, Miho attended a local festival with her children. Photographs from the event showed her looking happy and carefree, her behavior betraying no hint of guilt. On the 5th of July, 2019, the trial of Miho began. Noboru's family demanded the maximum punishment, death by execution. Remarkably, even in court, her late husband's relatives continued to refer to her as Maiko. Although her real name had already been revealed, years of deception had ingrained the fabricated identity into everyone's minds. Miho appeared in court wearing a black shirt, thick-framed black glasses, and an odd choice: red sandals that seemed out of place and inappropriate. When she began to speak, her voice quivered as she struggled to hold back tears. "I deeply regret what I've done, especially to my daughter and my husband's parents. I am so sorry." She apologized for her actions, but her words rang hollow in the shadow of her heinous crimes. Miho appeared to express remorse for her actions. "I regret taking a life and causing emotional trauma to my daughter," she said, tears in her eyes, as she attempted to inject emotion into her words. Some might have believed in her sincerity, but she quickly revealed her true nature. The moment she returned to her seat, Miho began yawning, as if the trial had exhausted her. This gesture shocked everyone in the courtroom. The judge harshly condemned her actions and demeanor. "The defendant has repeatedly displayed extravagance and deceit, betraying her spouse. Her actions, including manipulating and forcing her own daughter to participate in the crime, are profoundly reprehensible and warrant severe punishment." In the end, Miho was sentenced to 23 years in prison. Yet, even after the verdict, questions remained unresolved. The most pressing question concerned possible accomplices. Many wondered whether Miho could have encased her husband's body in concrete on her own. Was someone else involved, besides her 12-year-old daughter? This lingering doubt continued to trouble investigators and the public alike. Another puzzling detail was Miho's eagerness to finalize her divorce from her deceased husband as quickly as possible. Some speculated that she was already plotting to find a new target for a fourth marriage. Undeniably, Miho revealed herself to be selfish, manipulative, and unscrupulous. Her actions inflicted deep emotional scars on her children, particularly her eldest daughter, who bore the heaviest burden of this tragedy. The fate of her children evokes profound sympathy. They were victims of their own mother's cruelty, yet one can only hope that they are now living in a safe environment where they can begin to heal their emotional wounds. Thus ends this harrowing story. May the children who endured such horrific trials find solace and support, allowing them to grow into happy and healthy individuals.